Today's question's from Laura, and Laura asks, do you have any advice on pace or talking slower for those who naturally speak quickly, both in real life and during presentations? I need effective techniques that don't make me sound stilted. Well, Laura, it's a brilliant question, and I'm actually going to answer it in 5 parts, which sounds like a lot of information to take in, so maybe have a notebook and pen handy for this. Now, I'm going to tackle the most difficult or controversial part of this first. Always best to get the difficult thing out of the way first. And it's not difficult per se, but it may be difficult to hear. And that's about this very notion that you speak too fast or that you're speaking quickly, and that's a problem. Who says? Where does this come from? Is this an idea that you have about yourself as a speaker, or is it something that somebody else who's heard you speak has said to you? And it's worth pausing for a while and just reflecting on that. And where does that come from? If it's something that you believe about yourself, where are you getting that belief from? When did this start? Now, as women, this is something that is kind of drummed into us at a fairly early age. I often feel that as we're growing up, when we're toddlers and we're learning to speak, we're encouraged to talk, and then pretty soon we're being told to be quiet all of the time. It may not be that someone's ever said to you, you shouldn't speak, you must be quiet. But sometimes if we speak and we're not rewarded for it, and a reward may simply be attention, if we speak and we're ignored, we may start to believe that we don't deserve to be heard. And that can affect the way we feel about ourselves as speakers. And very often women say to me, oh, I don't want to speak because I speak too fast, I don't like the sound of my voice, no one's interested in what I've got to say. And I think all of these things are rooted in a belief that we have developed and nurtured within ourselves that we shouldn't speak, that we've been told that we shouldn't speak. So it's worth reflecting on that and challenging whether that's actually true. Maybe that was true once in one circumstance, but is it true now? And is it helpful now to hold on to that belief? If a person comes to mind when you think about this, well, maybe somebody did once say something to you that made you think that you speak too fast or made you feel bad about that. But is that person here now? And is that person relevant to this situation that you're speaking in now? Again, reflect on this, because often these things from the past, they stay with us, but they're not necessarily useful to us right now. A lady called Sheryl Sandberg, who works for Facebook, has recently written a book called Lean In, which is all about this sort of thing. And she's campaigning against use of the word bossy to describe women and young women in particular. How many of us, when we were young girls, were told that if we voiced our opinion, we were bossy and therefore we shouldn't do it, whereas young boys tend not to be discouraged in this way. And Sheryl reflects that bossiness is really leadership and should be encouraged actually in girls, and it's just quite interesting to think about it in this context. So that's where we'll start. Number 1, please challenge that idea that you are speaking too quickly. Moving on then, so what's wrong with speaking too quickly? There's an implication in your question that speaking quickly, speaking fast is a problem. I know many public speakers who are really good, effective public speakers who speak really quickly, and they acknowledge they speak really quickly as well. Speaking quickly is not a problem per se. What may be a problem is information overload. So that's saying too much within the space of time that you have, bombarding your audience with too many ideas. So a great way to tackle this, and this is my point 3, is to say less and to plan to say less. You may have 20 ideas that you're excited about sharing with an audience, but it's too much for them. Instead, choose 3 messages, no more, 3 messages, and find 3 different ways of saying each of those messages over the course of a talk. You may find that's far more effective. Save the rest of the messages for another time, or people can get in touch with you and you can speak with them one-to-one. So get into a habit of preparing to say less when you speak. And to do that most effectively brings me on to point 4, which is rehearsal. You should always rehearse your presentation, and rehearse in real time, setting a timer. And notice when you rehearse how what you're saying sounds to you and how it feels as you say it, so that you're able to communicate your ideas with passion and with rapport and charisma and presence, so that people can really connect with what you're saying. This is what's important, not the speed at which you're speaking. If you keep rephrasing and re-expressing your ideas, people will have a greater chance of taking on what you're saying. The speed is not such a big issue, I find. We're good at hearing as humans as well. You can speak quickly and ideas are still picked up. And finally on my list is this whole idea around awareness, just being aware of yourself when you're speaking. So, okay, if you're still bothered about the rate you're speaking at, then check in with yourself as you're speaking and notice if you're speaking faster than you would wish to. I often speak where there are deaf people in the audience and there is a speech-to-text translator, transcriber, doing a live transcription of what I'm saying, and I need to make sure that I'm not speaking too fast for them. And this has been a great discipline for me, to keep checking in with myself when I'm speaking. Am I going too fast for this poor person who is transcribing as I'm speaking to the audience? And if you're aware of that, if you have an awareness so that you're not speaking on autopilot, but you're also saying to yourself mentally while you're speaking, how are we doing here? Am I speaking too fast? And looking at the audience for any signals that you might be, then you can change as you're going. You can slow down. And of course, a great part of slowing down is the pause. So if you do sense that you're speaking too fast, that's a great place to drop a pause in. Pausing is great for the audience because it gives them that moment to reflect on what you're saying. And when they reflect, they're thinking about, how does what's been said apply to me? And how does it compare with what I already know? And our audiences need time and opportunity to do that. So, challenge your idea about speaking quickly. Ask yourself, what's wrong with speaking fast? Is it really a problem? Plan to say less. You'll be more effective if you say less. Rehearse and notice how that rehearsal feels, and work on your awareness so that you realise that you may be speaking a bit more quickly than you would like to, and use a pause and regulate the speed at which you're speaking. Many thanks for the great question. If you enjoyed this video, do please subscribe to my channel, and if you have a question, then I'd love to receive it. Drop me an email at julie@publicspeakingmojo.co.uk.